The marketing planning process, chapter 2 is where we start our discussion. And so when you're looking at the marketing planning process, there are some components to take in consideration. First and foremost, it's a process. And then it's part of planning. So in order to do that, it's preparatory in its thought process. So we're going to look at scans or scanning, which is really an element of being able to survey well, how we pull together goals, how we develop strategy, and then how we use the internet as a tool from a marketing standpoint to leverage our strengths against the competition's weaknesses. So a scan, when we look at a marketing scan, we're looking at it from the standpoint of socially, what are the roles and patterns that are most important and significant to us to build our plan? Technology, the advancements and awareness from a consumer standpoint and from a business standpoint. Economically, what finances are necessary and what type of management do we need from a competitive perspective in scanning the influences and alternatives that we can take into consideration, and then legally when we look at pricing and the things that are structuring our marketing mix, how do we make sure the protections are there not only for the business but also for the consumer as well? So when we're looking to establish goals, they have to be clear, not just in the marketplace, but for the entire operation, sustainable over time in the life of the business, and achievable as to ensure success over time. And then this dovetails quite nicely into our strategy. We're looking to position ourselves as an organization to be poised to succeed. And so that means that our communications have to be effective, they have to be constant, they have to be consistent, and then our delivery is one that takes on the many multitude of modalities that are out there. And speaking of those different delivery modalities, the internet is probably the most effective one or single most effective one today in the marketplace. We're looking to get that competitive advantage, the value creation and differentiation that's so important in marketing when we're looking at competition, and then understanding e-business and e-commerce as we facilitate and integrate our business into the marketplace itself. So, how do we get this competitive advantage? Well, we look at creating value. That's extremely important. And the way that we create value, or one of the ways we can create it, is by being unique in our offering and being sustainable. Of course, another way to get competitive advantage is to differentiate ourselves from the competition and make sure that we're fluid in doing that. That allows us to establish the core competencies necessary to succeed, determine if the core competencies are of value from the consumer's perspective, and then that causes the separation competitively. And then, of course, the last thing, ensure that these competencies are natural and anticipatory, if nothing else. So we're really trying to build this framework that allows us to leverage the internet from a strength position and then therefore take advantage of the many opportunities that fall within the marketplace. So when we talk about the internet, we've got a front end of the web presence, not a website, not just Facebook, but all of those components. We've got a front end to the web presence into the internet from a marketing perspective. And the categories are business to business, business to consumer, consumer to consumer, and mobile. But we need to look at the front end of our business as putting the controls in the hands of the consumer to manipulate getting products and services the way they would like to. And then on the back end of our web presence, we have the ability to then put into place security, e-theft, the structure that really controls those points and makes sure that consumers can be safe in how they operate with us. We're building that relationship and strengthening it, and more importantly, optimizing it between business and consumer. And the internet is the place of commerce, one of the strongest places of commerce today that's new in the last 10 or 15 years. So then the planning process that allows us to do this really looks at the different stages we can go into. We can formulate, that really gets us to look at how we can pull the structure for our marketing plan together. We can adapt, or adaptation, that looks at how we categorize ideas and then apply them to the marketplace. We can look at a concentration focus to make sure that our goals into our marketing plan are actionable and can be implemented. And then implementation itself allows us us to be able to understand, based on a timeline and responsibility, how to fund our plan, and then evaluation. What changes do we need to make long term in our marketing plan, and why? So here's an exercise that might be beneficial. It is optional, but it's a marketing planning process exercise. It can be done individually or in group, again, being optional. You can formulate an idea for a marketing plan and then adapt the idea to the 5 environmental scan components that are in the textbook, and then concentrate on developing goals and a strategy and put together the steps you think you would take to implement your marketing plan. 2 to 4 pages, double space Word document is probably the best way to be able to formulate that. So here are some definitions that might be beneficial to you in this particular lesson. One, looking at a scan and the process involved in that to really bring about discovery of potential trends within your organization. Goals, looking at the specific objectives with respect to time and magnitude. Strategy, which we'll talk about throughout this course. It's our game plan, our roadmap on how to obtain your goals. And then, of course, the internet, this just vast tool that allows us to have a web presence and project ourselves in a way like no one has seen. So what did we learn? Well, we learned these components really help us in the planning process. And we've got to be good at scanning and pulling up surveys. We have to be even better at being able to develop our goals. We have to be proficient at how we develop strategy from our SWOT analysis. And then we have to be the best we can possibly be to utilize the internet to help project who we are when we develop our marketing plan. Here is your thought for the day. The world is what we think it is. If we can change our thoughts, we can change the world.